a scientist.
Suffice it that the blood of 1,000 men and women was spilled within these walls. Limbs twisted and broken, eyes gouged from bloody sockets, flesh burned black.
Please. You're way for dead. In death, there are no accidents, no coincidences, no mishaps, and no escapes. What you have to realize is that we're all just a mouse that a cat has by the tail.
The number you have reached, 911, has been changed to a non-published number.
Warning, the following show contains conservative posturing, radical Christian ideas, and may offend pagans, Wiccans, Islamic fundamentalists, and other unenlightened individuals. Callers and guests may be subjected to brash and offensive comments by the hosts and any other type of bullying tactics available. But that's okay. We know why you're here.
This concludes this test of the emergency broadcast system.
Tonight is February 9th, 2014.
And hello. Jay Scott coming at you. I'm here sitting right beside me is actually Mr. Clements, but beside him is our one and only
infamous Chuck Browder.
That's right. He's back, folks. Y'all thought he wasn't coming back, didn't you? I did too at times.
You guys thought I was left for dead.
Chuck, how's it been, man? How you been?
I've been good. It's even better to be back.
It's, these people have listened to us for years and years, and they're all coming back. They're migrating back toward what is WOTU. So they miss you.
What is WOTU?
I don't know. The world of the unexplained, I guess. But, Trent's running late as usual, so we'll be checking outside every now and then since we've got the door locked. We can't hear him if he were to come.
It's SEC guidelines.
That's right.
Well, we never followed him before.
Well, no. I mean, but, who cares? I mean, it's not like we're on terrestrial anymore. We're just, the internet. Well, I don't think we're on terrestrial anymore. We need to get back on that. I need to look into that again. But right now we're doing pretty good. We see that all you guys have listened to us and downloaded this. Our first comeback show, we had over 400 podcast downloads. The second one you're not going to get because, D actually, he pressed record, but he forgot to hit the start button, so that kind of nullified that. But, with that being said, tonight we've got Chris Alexander on. We're trying to get him on the line now. He's a big fan of dark fantasy cinema. He's got a big into the Hammer horror films like we all are here. He was a former columnist and critic for the horror entertainment periodical Rue Morgue, and he currently serves as the editor-in-chief for the iconic New York City-based horror film magazine Fangoria. He's taught film history, lectures around the world. He hosts and curates film nights. He's written Chris Alexander's blood-spattered book for Midnight Marquee Press. He's wrote, edited, scored, and directed and composed music for a variety of pictures.
So he's a musician as well.
Yeah, wrote, edited, scored,
Awesome.
and directed the award-winning film Blood for Arena. And he's in pre-production right now on his next film, Queen of Blood. He's had a series hosted by Malcolm McDowell. His album Music is Murder is out on 2M1 record label. And he currently lives and works outside of Toronto, where he also runs Fangoria from a satellite office with his wife and kids. So that's Chris. You got him on the phone? Cool. Hey, Chris, how's it going? Jay Scott.
Hey, man, how are you? Thanks for having me on the show.
Hey, man, thanks for coming on. We know we've only got you for the first hour tonight, which is fine with us. We're just glad to have you on. How are you?
I'm good. I'm feeling all right. You mentioned my kids there. So, yeah, I mean, just a correction. My kids don't run Fangoria with me. That's interesting, but they are.
They don't?
It ain't that much of a family affair, and I ain't that twisted. But I just put a couple of them to bed right now, and I kind of nodded off there for a minute. So I'm a little bit, actually, probably appropriately disoriented at the moment. So let's just jump in. Let's do it.
All right, well, I figured you were like Stephen King. You put the kids to bed. Would you like Daddy to read you a bedtime story? They're like, no.
Yeah, it's funny that way. They live with all this stuff. It's everywhere. It's omnipresent. All these monsters and movies and all this stuff. And yet, yeah, they have zero tolerance for this stuff when the lights are out. It's great. When I was a kid, I ate this stuff up because it was,
me too.
you know, it wasn't, you know, it wasn't forced down my throat. But I think because it's part of their environment, they're just not interested. You know, it's like whatever. You know.
Oh wow.
Let's do something else.
Well, tell us about what it's like being the editor-in-chief for Fangoria.
Well, it's amazing, and it's been, I guess, the 5th year now.
Wow.
So, I mean, Fango's old. Fango's been around 34 years, right?
Oh, yeah, since I was a kid.
35, actually, since 79, so we're going on our 35th year.
Wow.
So by the time I got on board, it was the elder statesman of the monster magazine universe. There's no doubt about that. And I grew up reading it, so, and everyone of my generation did. It was my punk rock. It was my entry point into the genre in many respects. So the fact that I'm actually, you know, being responsible for calling the shots creatively in it is still, you know, it's a job, so it becomes my daily life, and you get used to it, but then you stop and think, and you say, oh my God, this is actually what I do, and it's pretty goddamn cool, I'll tell you that.
I bet it is, man. I bet it's a lot of fun. I remember, I'm 37 right now. I'll be 38 next month, but
Right.
you know, same deal. I mean, I remember, you know, just eating that stuff alive, man. You know, it was it's the great stuff. You know, in the old, I was reading your intro here. We talked about your love for the old Hammer horror films, and that's
Yeah.
we're right in the same place there. So it's neat. It's very neat.
Yeah, well, I mean, I got my, I think a lot of us did, too. It's, you know, I think if you're a fan of this stuff, it's tied into your childhood. It's tied into positive memories, usually, of your childhood. Whether you sought this stuff out to escape from an unpleasant childhood, or you had, like me, a fairly pleasant childhood that it was just something secret and something arcane, something hidden. I mean, I would literally highlight the movies in the TV guide and put an alarm clock under my pillow and wake myself up at key moments. It was before VCRs and everything, and so I'd walk downstairs in the middle of the night. I had to be very quiet because I didn't want to wake mom and dad up. So my heart was pounding in my chest already, so I was already nervous. And then to turn on the television and see all these bizarre, you know, Hammer horror movies, nickel and dime Empire Pictures movies, Roger Corman American International Pictures films, blaxploitation movies, all this crazy stuff in the middle of the night. It's tied into a very warm, wonderful part of my childhood. You know, it's part of my DNA.
Oh yeah, it's like, you know, you get the excitement of the bump in the night, of the, you know, the scary thoughts. Tell me what your favorite. Give me your top 10 list, if you've got one, of favorite horror films.
This is so possible because it fluctuates so much, right? I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I'm so broad in my taste, and also as I get older, my definition of what a horror movie is changes too. So
No, that's so true. I was watching The Terminator here this afternoon. A lot of people associate it with science fiction, but there are a lot of them that are definitely crossover films. Jaws, for instance, it's a horror film, but it's also potentially, you know, sort of a drama. I mean,
yeah, it's a drama, it's an adventure picture, and you mentioned The Terminator. The Terminator is you know, it's a zombie movie, really. I mean, the Terminator represents every zombie mashed into one big bionic monster. You know, he just keeps coming at you.
Totally. And it's funny you mention that, because the co-writer of the script is, I believe, the woman who writes Walking Dead now.
It was produces Walking Dead. Yeah, Galen Hurd. Yeah, or she produced The Terminator. Yeah, Galen Hurd.
I thought they didn't have writers over at Walking Dead now. I thought they stopped using them.
Yeah.
I'm serious. That's what I'd heard.
Well, who knows what's going on over there? It sounds like not a fun. Never mind, Fangoria. It sounds like not a very fun place to work. It sounds like there's all kinds of skullduggery happening on that in that universe there. I actually tuned out of it. I know the second half of the season from 4 is playing tonight, but I actually kind of tuned out of that show. Not because I didn't like it, but I just kind of lost track of it. So I'm going to wait till it shows up on Blu-ray, and then I'll kill it all off in one shot. Otherwise, I'm being completely ignorant, putting my fingers in my ears and pretending I don't hear what's going on. I know some pivotal character got killed recently, and I don't know who it is, and I don't want to know, so please don't blow that for me if you're in the know.
No problem. I don't know. I don't watch it. I watched the first season and kind of went my own way. What do you think about the new Sleepy Hollow series?
I interviewed the guy who's directing a lot of those. I know it's Len Wiseman who made the Underworld pictures, is producing it, I think. But the guy's directing a lot of episodes. I just interviewed him the other day. His name's Douglas Arniakowski. And he's a hell of a guy and a really exciting director. He got his start making cheapy, again, full moon pictures for Charles Band in the 90s, and then he was the AD for Robert Rodriguez for many pictures, and Sam Raimi on Darkman, and he directed a new movie that just opened up on Friday called Nurse 3D, which is one of the most spectacular greaseball sexploitation movies, horror movies you'll ever see. Like it looks like a Russ Meyer movie. It's crazy, and it's playing in select theaters right now in 3D. Okay,
that's cool.
So yeah, this guy's really cool, and I've never seen Sleepy Hollow, but I want to see it because we actually spent a great deal of time discussing his techniques making this show and the fact that he worked on all these low budget movies as a kid. His entire ability to make pictures and to cheap budgets and to produce these things came from that world. So I'm really interested to see what he's done with his show. Is it any good? Do you like it?
I love the show. I've and you know, part of it, the reason I was into it is because it's filmed here in North Carolina, and that's where we're at. So
right,
you know, it's kind of neat to.
What area?
The Wilmington area near the beach.
Yeah,
But,
I've heard nothing but good things about it. I'm really again, it's one of those things that I'll probably wait until somebody sends me the Blu-ray of season 1 or something. Then I'll kill it all off in one night. You know, very interested in it.
You mentioned Sam Raimi earlier, and I tell you what, I was really disappointed with the film that came out a few years ago. It was I'm trying to think of the name of it. It was about the girl that was possessed and the fake preacher that went around doing the fake exorcisms.
The Last Exorcism.
Yes,
that one. Uh-huh.
I was really disappointed with that film. I don't know. Did you see it?
Yeah, I mean that's not Sam Raimi though. That was Eli Roth was behind that. Right?
Never mind. I'm getting mixed up. I thought Sam Raimi
getting your
had something to
gurus
do
mixed
with it.
up there, but you know.
But I was really disappointed with it. I didn't
like. I mean, listen. I don't like. There's one of my favorite directors is a guy that not a lot of people know, but his name's Harry Kamel. He's a Belgian guy, and he directed one of my favorite vampire movies called Daughters of Darkness. Okay. And he's a real you know, prissy, moody son of a bitch, and he gets very irate and angry when you talk to him. He's a real artisan, right? Real pretentious prick. And you know, he's one thing he said to me a long time ago is, "Film should be a dream. If I want fucking reality, I'll look out my window." You know? And that's the way I feel. So I don't like found footage movies. They piss me off. They're not real. And The Last Exorcism really pissed me off because, am I allowed to say piss me off?
You're allowed to say anything you want. We're internet.
Okay, great. But I didn't like it, especially because if you're gonna break down that wall and kind of give us that immediacy of a documentary, great. But don't put a score. Don't put a musical score in the thing, okay? Because it doesn't make sense. Now it's neither fish nor fowl. I don't know what I'm looking at anymore. Is it a fantasy? Is it something that we're supposed to see has been produced? Or, I mean, if this is a found footage movie, who the hell? What did they send it away?
Who found it?
Yeah, who scored it? And some guy scored it. Hey, this is cool.
Now speaking of
my keyboard and make a score for this before we unleash it to the world. So I was that whole concept bugged me to begin with, and yeah, it didn't really work for me. Some good acting in it. There's some good actors, a good talent behind the camera, but it didn't work for me at all.
Well, now speaking of scoring, Chuck here, he was the guy that talked to you about the Terminator a little bit ago. Chuck actually has done some stuff like that before. He's actually a classically trained guitar player.
Indeed, yeah. But no, I was going to say it's a little akin to I don't know, doing a redux of the Blair Witch Project and having John Williams score.
Yeah,
terrible.
Yeah, it's like suddenly what is it originally immediate and frightening and you're disillusioned by the whole thing because you're not sure where the fantasy ends and the reality begins.
Well, another film that was done recently, I guess, in that same vein was Apollo 14. Have you seen that?
You know, I started to watch a little bit of it, and I ended up conking out, and I wasn't grabbed by it enough to actually revisit it.
But once again, it's one of those. Is it a horror film?
Right.
Is it science fiction? I mean, it's definitely crossover, and then you also have that I don't know exactly what you're saying, that Blair Witch factor with it.
Yeah, and you know, it's again, we're talking about how do you define the genre, and that's one thing about being the editor of Fangoria magazine and dealing with fans on a day-to-day basis that sometimes can cause a point of contention because of that very reason. That sometimes horror fans, it's a very tribal, cult-like, clandestine environment where the real, horror fans, it's like a club, and they have specific definitions of what everything should be, and then if you break through that, suddenly you lost the plot. It drives me crazy, when I try to convince people that like a Demon Seed is a horror film, and they're like, no, it's science. It's a horror movie, okay? It's about a computer trying to rape a woman and impregnate her. I mean, it is
That's
a horror
horrible, yeah.
film. Yeah. But no, because it has technology, it must be a science fiction film. Think, no, come on. It's horror is about dread. It is about the unknown. It is about what's behind that door, coming and invading our space, and threatening all that we hold dear. I mean, that is what horror is. So there you go. So you asked me about my top 10 horror movies. It's all across the board, but I'll tell you that my number one movie, and it seems to never change, although there are a bunch of other ones floating around the number one spot. But George Romero's Dawn of the Dead, there's no doubt about it, will always stand as the movie that I can watch Dawn of the Dead once a week, and I will never get tired of that movie. It's just such an epic, and there's different cuts of it. So if I get tired of the standard theatrical cut, I can watch the 2 hour and 40-minute director's cut, or I can watch the Italian cut, or there's so many different versions of it and different fingerprints in this movie. I love Dawn of the Dead. I just love that movie because it's a western, it's an action movie, it's a war movie, it's a horror film, it's an allegory, it's a satire, it's the whole deal.
Where does The Exorcist fit in your categorization?
Where is The Exorcist?
Yes.
I put The Exorcist recently. We sat down with Friedkin, and we got this really great. Friedkin won't just talk about The Exorcist anymore. If you want to talk about The Exorcist with him, he'll talk about theology, which is brilliant. It's fantastic, and spirituality. So we had put this 9-page interview with Friedkin on the cover of 2 issues ago to celebrate the 40th anniversary of The Exorcist. And in my editorial, I mentioned that as a kid growing up, it wasn't The Exorcist that I saw that hit me. It was The Omen. So The Omen was always my God versus the devil movie of choice, and it's the horriest one. It's the most obvious one. It deals more in shock and
the remake was terrible.
Well, the remake was beat for beat, right? So it's I don't need this. And the other one, if you're going to remake a movie, go in a few different directions. Give me something different.
We interviewed back when that came out back in 2006 on the show. We interviewed the guy that played the priest that blows up in the first 10 seconds of the film or catches on fire. I don't remember now.
Oh yeah.
We had him on for 2 hours, and I think he made the cut of all of 10 seconds in the film. It was, but it was cool.
Who was the guy? Who was it?
I don't remember who it was offhand either.
I'll have to look. I'll get back to you. I'll send you an email later.
Whatever the case, he got more play on your show than he did in the movie. So there you go.
Yeah, he did, and it was fun, And The Omen's definitely one of my all-time favorites too, as far as horror films go, as well as The Exorcist.
Yeah, me too. But then I went back recently to The Exorcist. It's kind of a Johnny-come-lately, and I get it now. I realize that The Exorcist is, technically is the superior film because it takes its sweet-ass time.
Yeah.
To get where it's going, and you really do care about this mother and this daughter and every character, and you care about Father Karras, and each one of them it's all these different tales and plot lines that end up converging in this girl's bedroom, and so structurally it's a masterpiece. There's no doubt about it. Just when I was a kid, I think I saw the edited version on TV. Where instead of saying your mother sucks cocks in hell, it's, your mother scrubs socks in heck.
And you're like, what? What does this mean?
Yeah, it's what are they saying? It's I don't know if that's it. So you don't get the kids. They don't have that phenomenon anymore where they dub stuff for TV. I mean, I remember Scarface too, watching Scarface as a kid, and and you could tell because their lips were always doing something completely different. Sometimes they'd have a different actor dropping the voice in, and it was Al Pacino and what's his face who played his buddy Manny, and they were sitting there on the sitting there in Miami there on some courtyard, and Al Pacino says, "This in the real version, it's." This Tom's like a great big pussy waiting to be fucked, right? But in the cut version, they said this, and this is true. We watched the cut version. If you get the DVD, they have both. They say, this Tom's like a great big chicken waiting to be plucked. You're like, what's going on?
No, that's pretty good.
Stupid. I know that they're swearing. Why the stupidest? So, anyways, I saw The Exorcist in that version, and it never really did it for me. It was all cut to hell, and it was really talky. And
did you ever see the movie Possessed that was put out by Showtime?
I saw a movie called Possessed that had Linda Blair in it and Leslie Nielsen. Is that the one?
No, this is.
That sounds like a comedy.
No, this is.
It was. Oh no, that was Repossessed.
It
was a spoof. Yeah.
Possessed was. It had the guy Timothy Dalton that used to play James Bond was the priest character, and it was a boy that was possessed, and it was more to the version of the true actual events that inspired the Exorcist film.
No, I didn't see that.
It's
how
good.
Old of a film is that? I've never even heard of this movie.
I think it was in the late '90s. I've got it on DVD.
Is it worth a look?
Oh, it's great. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Really? Okay.
And they do a great job. All the actors do a great job. It's good. It's a really good film.
Well, Dalton is an underrated, James Bond, but I mean his career goes back farther than that. He's a really underrated actor, and I think, and so yeah, that'd be interesting. And
then Exorcist 2, that didn't go well. And then Exorcist 3, though, I thought was good with George Scott. I thought he did I think he's a tremendous
George
actor.
Scott, there's a few moments, and if you've seen the movie, that one scene in the hospital.
Oh yeah.
So, the camera's going down, dolling down and then the jump.
You know what that scene reminds me of? My daytime job. I'm a criminal defense attorney, by the way.
Okay. All right, wow.
So when I have clients that are in the jail, our jail is painted. We go down these long white hallways like that, and it's all painted white, and it's the floor's white. And the first time I walked through there, I was like, oh my God! I kept turning around because that scene from The Exorcist 3 went through my head. Real story.
There's a lot. It's funny. There's a lot of people that I talk to that have similar work environments where if they've seen that movie and it hit them, that they have the same kind of the daydreaming paranoia as they're walking down the hallway. That some dude's going to jump out and grab you.
Yeah.
So yeah, but you know what? Exorcist 2 is unwatchable almost in any version. It was cut in various versions, but I'll say one good thing about Exorcist 2. Is that first of all, it's weird. It's weird. One of the weirdest movies I've ever seen. Secondly, it has got one of the most beautiful Ennio Morricone scores. That's one of those movies that you just go, you wish you could remove that incredible music and put it anywhere else. I'll put it on an IKEA commercial even would be better than The Exorcist.
Let me open up the phone lines here. We've got Chris Alexander with us tonight. The number here is 877-SCARE-U2. The letter U, the number 2, or that's 877-722-7382 for those of you that are numerically or letterly impaired. Give us a call and speak with him or send us a question to our Gmail, worldlyunexplained@gmail.com. I want to ask you, Chris, about this Blood for Arena movie.
Yeah.
Tell me
what
about
do you
it.
want to know? Do you just know what it is?
I do.
Okay, yeah. So I love all horror films, but the horrier the better. But I am partial to I want to say boring horror movies because that's not true. But I like slower paced, more ambiguous, abstract films. Usually they end up being European movies. Okay, they're very weird stuff. And so for my first movie, I got like a minuscule budget. Like $5,000 from this company called TLA that said, look, here's 5 Gs, make me a movie. And I'm a musician too, so I wrote it, directed it, scored it, did everything, shot it in this grungy motel. It was a vampire movie. It's also kind of like a riff on Polanski's Repulsion because it's a one-character piece and you don't know if she's mad or really a blood drinker. It's got some parables about addiction. And really slow and arty and very minimal dialogue. And I was really proud of it. Cut it myself, did everything. And we spat it out there, and it played all around the world and won a bunch of awards and got international distribution, played theatrically in France, and so got a lot of play. And very surprisingly, they wanted a follow-up, so we just did the second one called The Queen of Blood, which is the same cast, except we added a guy named Ogre from a band called Skinny Puppy, who plays like a riff on Klaus Kinski as a preacher in this thing. So it's kind of a Western. And it's really hard to articulate what these movies are. They are ostensibly vampire movies, but they're radically revisionist. And they're those kind of horror movies that you're either going to really gravitate towards or you're going to put your middle finger up and say it's garbage. So, I mean, that's kind of what the movie I wanted to make because, to me, those are the movies that always stick with me, are those movies that you're not sure if you love them or hate them or you have to watch them several times and see if you miss something, you know. That's what Blood for Arena is. So I don't recommend Blood for Arena on a slow Friday night when you get your buddies over having a few drinks. Ain't that kind of movie. Gotcha.
Well, about
3 in the morning. 3 in the morning. You stumble
by yourself.
From the club. Yeah, you're by yourself. You put it on. You're half awake. You're half asleep. The next day, you're not sure if you dreamed it. That's the kind of movie it is.
I'm going to check it out, man. Our co-host Trent just walked in. He was late today. Trent, say hi to Chris.
Hello, Chris. How you doing, man?
Hey, what's going on, man?
Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot.
I called you out. I'm sorry.
You sure did, man.
It's okay. It's okay. He was talking to Chuck earlier. I didn't want to get him confused.
Yeah.
So Chuck's our engineer. But I was going to ask you. You said that you. I read that you were that you had done some scores and you were a musician and you have a record out. Is that correct?
Yeah, we got there was back in the day, I used to write for a Canadian magazine called Rue Morgue, which is...
Oh, yeah, big time.
Sort of like Canada's answer to Fangoria, but although at this point, it's not fair to say because they've been around almost 20 years themselves, so... which is weird for me to say that, but man, do I feel old suddenly. But so around that time, I had a little kind of vanity record label. I put out my own records. So I put out a few back in the day. So if you look around, I mean, there's maybe circulated somewhere you'll find one of my CDs. But I did put out kind of an official album through a label that primarily deals in horror soundtracks called 2M1 Records.
Okay.
And it's called Music for Murder, and it's some of my soundtrack work, some original stuff, and it's imagine like the Italian supergroup Goblin crossed with some of the early John Carpenter synth music.
Oh, wow.
You kind of get a sense of what my stuff is.
Now, what do you play, Chris?
I play everything. I've always been... The way I see it, and this is just the way I am, is that, I write a lot, and write a lot for the magazine, write a lot for other outlets as well. I just started a third magazine with a guy named, I mentioned already, named Charles Band, talking about his legacy. I write for some newspapers, but I also do music and, make movies now. But to me, it's all music, so it's all kind of like whatever I get at my fingertips that I can use as the notes, whether they be words or whatever. So I can pick up, I'm not happy to say, I can pick up any instrument and manipulate it to some degree where I can make something pleasing out of it. I'm not, I'm not an amazing guitar player. I'm not an amazing piano player. I'm not an amazing anything, but I can twist things in a certain way to make a certain sound that I want. Let's just put it that way.
That works. I played at CBGB's in New York City back in 2001. I showcased for Atlantic Records there.
No way, man. Wow. That's amazing, man. I've never even been to CBGB's.
It was great. It was a hole in the wall. It was terrible. They started bands at like 7 o'clock, and they'd run like 5-6 bands a night, and there wasn't a lot of people there a lot of times. If you weren't in there on the prime, Friday, Saturday night kind of gig, I guess, because we played during the week. But it was cool to say I've been there and been on the stage, that so many other famous guys have been on before. But obviously that didn't work out because, anyway.
You did get a T-shirt, though.
I did get a T-shirt.
To prove it that
yes,
you're there.
Yes, I did.
T-shirts and an anecdote, so that's all you need.
Yes. I'm going to send you my CD, and we'll compare. If you like metal, you'll probably like it.
I love metal, absolutely.
So you just do everything, man. This is crazy. You write, you score movies, you make movies, it sounds like a fun life.
Someone said to me a long time ago is that, you have to just choose to do one thing. And I said, well, why do I have to do one thing? I mean, I'm only here for, 5 minutes in the grand scheme of the world, and I like everything. And I love music, and I love image, and I love words, and I love radio, and I love all of it. So if the opportunity arises, I'm going to do it. I'm also, I'm 39 now, and I have like a lot of kids, and I found ways to maximize my time. So when I do have spare time now, it's not my oats are sowed. I mean, I have no desire to, tomcat around or go to the clubs or do anything stupid like. I just don't. It doesn't appeal to me anymore. So I much rather.
We're all on the same page, man.
Yeah, I'd much rather make something. That at the I have something that I've produced than waste time getting blitzed or something like that. That's just where I'm at now. So amazingly, I've become incredibly productive, and I know that as I leak into my 40s, that energy is only going to last so long. So I'm kind of racing the clock to get as much of this stuff out as I can before I collapse.
Oh. Where do you put Nosferatu on your top lists?
It's funny. That's Nosferatu being one of the most important vampire movies, if not important horror movies, period. And we're talking the 22 Max Schreck Murnau movie, sure. But my favorite, to me, The Superior, I don't think it's a historically more important film at all, but I think the superior experience today is Werner Herzog's remake with Kinski, which to me is one of the ultimate vampire movies. And it's only rated PG. There's no sex, and I don't even think there's a drop of blood in the movie. Maybe a drop. But it's just the moodiest, strangest, saddest vampire. And to me, it's like if you were a vampire, if there were such things,
sure.
It would not be a glamorous. You wouldn't be in the Twilight movies shimmering like diamonds. It would be a miserable.
Oh my gosh! Don't even get me started on that.
You'd be the night flyer.
Fringe experience. So in Nosferatu, the remake, you really empathize with Kinski's Dracula, and that he is this bald, fanged vermin of a man that lives in the shadows and only wants to be loved and cared for, but nobody will ever will. So it's very sad, and the music is beautiful, and the locations are beautiful. So I'll say that the original Nosferatu, high up there in the level of import as far as his history goes, But to me, the superior film in my own top 10 list, Nosferatu, the Vampire, or in German, Phantom der Nacht, is way up at the top. I think it's one of the best vampire movies ever made.
You know what? I will definitely have to check it out. But Scott and I have a very interesting story about the original Nosferatu. When we were in Germany,
in the 90s, 98,
97.
Yeah.
97.
Went to see it. We were in college. We went to see a friend of ours.
Anyway, apparently he knew that there was a show going on, and what it was like an upstairs little tiny little theater with like curtains and a movie projector, and we were drinking beer, and there was like a little actual miniature orchestra kind of a thing playing music to Nosferatu
in German.
In German, right? Well, obviously, Scott. You know, and it was cool. It was in the theme of the actual music that they would have played in back in the time when Nosferatu came out originally, and it was really quite an experience. It was very quaint and cozy and a little creepy. You know, and it was springtime, so it was, I don't know, it was just kind of it was a mighty awesome movie going. Probably one of my favorite movie going experiences ever.
Well, it sounds amazing, and that's a rare treat too, because a lot of these silent movies, Nosferatu included, there were scores written for these movies, right?
Yeah.
But Nosferatu, the whole history there, how they all, Murnau didn't get permission from Bram Stoker's widow, who was alive, to make Dracula. So we tried to change the name. He's not called Dracula; it's called Orlok. And
yeah.
But she found out, and so the court ordered every print burned. Of course, he smuggled a few of them out. So in the passage of time, that movie's become public domain, and so that score that was written, which I think Kino, when they released the movie on DVD, restored that. But yeah, it's not a lot of people have actually heard the legitimate score that was made, composed for that. There is a guy, I don't know how wide his net reaches. I know he's big in Europe, or was. I don't know about in the States how big a guy named. You ever heard of Nash the Slash?
Nash the Slash. I have not.
Look him up. He was like a big in Toronto here in the 80s. He was like the shit, and he's really, like I say, he's really big in Europe. He's a horror movie freak who dresses up like kind of like the Invisible Man, and sort of like Kiss back in the day. You never knew what he looked like, and he would his face bandaged all up with a top hat and a tuxedo and goggles, and he would play the electric violin and all these different instruments. And he was in a band called FM, this prog rock band. It's kind of like Canada's version of Yes.
Wow.
And he did recently, in the last 10 years or so, he did composed an electronic violin score to Nosferatu, and it'll just send shivers up your spine. It's a little mini masterpiece. And then to see him perform live, this guy looks like this homunculus version of the Invisible Man in the corner of a screen playing this electric violin while this movie's playing.
That is
again, one of those amazing experiences that when you see it, your memory holds it because you want to remember.
Chuck just pulled it up, some pictures of him here on the
Nash
internet.
the Slash.
Yeah. Nash the Slash. Yeah, he's in retirement now, and I'll probably do something in Fango about him soon because, he's kind of like people kind of forgot about Nash the Slash, which is a shame because he's amazing.
Yeah, and at the same time he dresses like the Invisible Man. So
yeah, there's just this cool mystique, and Canada's not known for. I'm Canadian, born and raised. We're not known for a lot of cool stuff coming out of Canada. You know what I mean? Like we don't have.
Well, I'm sorry, did I say that?
Yeah. We don't have a lot of
Jim
cool
Carrey.
So it's like, see a guy like Nash, you're like, oh man, if this guy was somewhere else at another time, another place, he'd be a legend,
Sure. I mean, he definitely had the theatrics of performance down pat. I love the fact that he would be coming up there almost anonymously, and he'd walk off the stage, and I'm assuming you wouldn't know.
Yeah,
what he really looked like,
hammering away on these electric violins, and then he'd stop the show dead. And I mean, I've actually about 10 years ago, I opened for him like 3 times, which was cool.
Oh, cool.
And he would bring out electric drills and start blasting away like oil drums to make sounds, and then use audio visual. So he was kind of a pioneer in that respect of stuff that people are doing. Rammstein and everybody else is obviously perfected. He was doing in pioneering in those days, and. Because he was in Toronto, he just kind of, faded away, which is unfortunate.
That's kind of sad.
I'm going to give the numbers again, guys. 877-722-7382. It's toll free. 1-877-722-7382 or 1-877-SCARE, the letter U, the number 2. We're with Chris Alexander. Chris, did you see the American version is Let the Right One In? I can't remember the foreign version of it. What did you think of the remake?
I liked it, and we're talking about Hammer movies. I don't know if you knew that, but it's a Hammer movie.
I did not know that.
Yeah, that was Hammer. Forget the guy who bought the name out, but he also bought the rights to the entire catalog.
Wow.
And they've been they've been creating fresh Hammer movies. The Woman in Black, the Daniel Radcliffe ghost story, is a Hammer movie.
Yeah.
Huh.
There's a new one, The Quiet Ones, comes out next month or in 2 months.
Cool.
And it's called Let Me In, is the American one. And
Yeah.
I thought it was fantastic, and I loved the original, and I thought the remake actually respected the mood and the tone and the maturity and the style of that original film. And to me, went in even a few interesting directions. I like the cast. And I thought it was definitely a respectable remake.
What did you think? And here's a movie that I've always held very dear to my heart was the original Fright Night. And when when they remade it, I watched it over and over and over and over again. I bought it as soon as it came out on Blu-ray, and I really like the remake, but I really like the original too.
Yeah, and we're in the minority, man, because the original. I remember. Okay, I was 11 or 10 or 11. Was I 10? I don't remember.
I watched it with my grandma.
Hear me out. So I was 11, and it was my birthday party, and I wanted to see Godzilla 1985.
Gotcha.
And with Raymond Burr was in it. I wanted to see Godzilla 1985 because I wanted to see this, and we went to the theater to see it, and it was gone. And the only movie playing that was remotely interesting was something called Fright Night. I had no idea what it was, but it had a cool poster. And so me and all the kids went in to see it, and I can't believe we were like 11 because that movie. The special effects are, it's
great.
Yeah, but there's also a lot of like tits in it and stuff. Whoa, my buddies are like, oh, look at that.
This is great. And no movies could be like this.
And my dad's sitting at the end with his head in his hands, knowing he's going to get the phone call. No, but anyways, I was just like, at the end of it, and that movie just changed it literally changed my life.
Great film.
I was so obsessed. I bought the soundtrack on tape, and man, I must have seen Fright Night. In my lifetime, I've probably seen Fright Night 500 times. I'm not joking. I know every line of dialogue. I know every sound effect.
It's like me with Ghostbusters.
What's that?
It's like me with Ghostbusters.
I'm with you on Ghostbusters, too. I know that movie inside out as well. But so Fright Night was such a big, and I know the director, Tom Holland, too. I spent like a week with him in Telluride at this festival, cool. And I love this guy, and he's been kind of dormant for a while. In fact, he's now he's adapting a Stephen King, his first feature since his last one, which was Thinner, back in '93.
Yeah, I remember Thinner.
They're filming it this spring in Montreal. It's a Stephen King film, so I'm really excited about that. But I like the remake too, not as a remake of Fright Night, but as kind of a fun, cool. Kind of weird, offbeat vampire movie. I thought it was a blast.
It is, yeah. It's great. I really enjoyed it. What
I liked, what's his face? It was David Tennant who played Peter Vincent.
Yeah, he did a great job.
Yeah,
I thought he was great in that movie, man.
He really was.
He's not the scared old man. He's the scared young guy that knew something was really up, and it was just a good take on it.
Yeah, I thought it was really, really, and it was a converted 3D movie too. But I did see it theatrically, and I thought it was one of the better converted 3D movies. So some of the effects of the gags were pretty good. So
I saw it. In
no
3D
problem
as well.
with that movie.
I saw it in 3D in Florida, and I just remember the paint bucket coming at me from the screen. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But so look at that one. Another horror classic. I hear they're gonna. Well, they remake this movie every 10 years. It seems like. But I thought that the Coppola version of Dracula is one of my favorites, but it looks like they're coming back again next year with something, or maybe this year.
There's a movie this year, and we sent one of our writers to Ireland, where they shot it, and they built the castle there and everything.
Oh, cool.
It's called Dracula Untold, as if that's the one you're thinking about. Universal Pictures is putting it out. And it's the big new Dracula reboot. I think it was just called Dracula for a while, now it's called Dracula Untold. But the idea is, and it's kind of a wonky one, it's one of those ideas that you can see a bunch of dudes in a boardroom in their suits sitting around going, this is a great idea. But when you're thinking about it and you're thinking, well, I don't know if it's a great idea. But in the Avengers, all the Marvel comics, all the Marvel universe at the end, Samuel Jackson will appear with his patch and go, okay, hey, join the Avengers, right?
Yeah.
So then suddenly there's the Avengers and they all show up together in the same movie, right? So this is the idea with Dracula Untold, is that it's an origin story of Dracula, okay?
Okay.
And then at the end, I don't know. I guess Frankenstein will show up at the end.
And then the Wolfman.
Next year it's Frankenstein Untold, and then so we're gonna get 4 years of regurgitations, and then at the end of it,
prequels.
That's gonna be a big monster mash. That's their plan.
I did not like the remake of Wolfman. I did not like it. I knew they were going to do something terrible with it.
Benicio del Toro.
Yeah. I just didn't think it was good. But it's when you touch classics like that, it's always hard. I did like Van Helsing because it kind of put all the the campy stuff together, and you've got you've got your Frankenstein, you've got your Wolfman, you got the vampire thing, the Dracula. You got all that going on. I did really enjoy that film.
we're gonna disagree. Agree to disagree.
That's fine.
Because Van Helsing, I wanted to hang myself.
The only I just remember Frankenstein rafting away on a little raft, and I feel like that should have been some kind of cheesy banjo music playing, and as he. I'm sorry.
It's right. There was some kind of weird little banjo theme when Van Helsing.
Maybe I don't. It just seemed like wow.
It was like Batman, but I liked the Wolfman a lot actually.
Did you?
But
okay.
Not as a remake of the 41 Universal picture.
Yeah.
It felt like a Hammer horror movie to me. I thought it was so atmospheric.
It was.
And also so ridiculous at the end when Werewolf Dad turns against Werewolf Son and they start going for it. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
The production values in that I think were just beautiful. It's funny about werewolves. No one. Universal tried to make werewolves interesting again with that movie.
Yeah.
No one bought it. We haven't had a good werewolf.
Oh wait. No. You'll remember this then, because Trent and I. This is one of our favorite shows. You remember Werewolf the series?
Oh my gosh!
Wasn't it great?
With the bleeding pentagram.
Oh man, it was such a great show.
Connors, man.
Yeah, it came on Fox, and they were going to release that like 2 years ago. I was waiting for it. Best Buy had it put up on their website. Here's the release date. It's coming out, and then they just basically canned it and said, we're not going to do it because we can't find the rights for some of this music on here. We can't use it.
Yeah.
And so all those DVDs, because that's what I really wanted to see. I had a friend that got me a really, really nasty like VHS conversion of it. And I do have it on a hard drive, but it just doesn't. Really, it's hard to watch.
Yeah. No, I have, and I taped a bunch of them back in the day too when they were on. But that was a really interesting show, man. But the effects, I remember the effects as it went on. I think they started out of the gate. I think it went 2 seasons.
Yeah,
right?
I think so.
Yeah, it wasn't very long, but
yeah. So out of the gate, I remember the effects being really good.
Yeah, for that time.
And then I think as it went on, they were culling the budgets a little bit. And so the werewolf, I don't know if you remember, he never shut his mouth. Yeah. He's always, the mask the guy was wearing was always, the mouth was in just open. So he never closed
ready to chew.
Just like an open mouth.
Ready to just consume. That's all he is.
Yeah, just like, and they were just in slow motion, right? So they try to cheat it. And he would run around like the Lou Ferrigno in The Incredible Hulk, right? So,
yeah, it's true.
Slow motion. And
in fact, that show was kind of like The Incredible Hulk, because when he just drift from town to town.
Yeah,
sure. I mean, there's some definite similar plot similarities.
But
you're Fugitive or whatever.
Right. I mean, ever since maybe The Howling, and then it turned to Howling 2 and beyond was just a bunch of porno movies.
Yeah,
but,
it was.
The Howling 2 was Sybil Danning, especially at the end credits. You remember that one? Just keeps taking her shirt off.
Yeah, exactly.
18,000 times. Here's my tits.
Well, we interviewed what's her name from the first Howling that was also in Cujo, and I can't think. I'm bad with
Dee Wallace.
Dee Wallace. Yeah, we interviewed Dee years ago, and I said, well, why didn't you star in the Howling 2? She's like, I don't make pornos. I was just like, you know what? Good point.
All right, point taken. Yeah.
Well, I guess Christopher Lee does, because he somehow ended up in that movie. This is very weird. That's one of the weirdest movies. The full title of that is Howling 2, Your Sister is a Werewolf. That's a catchy one. Yeah.
Oh.
Did you go ahead, Trent.
You know what? I just suddenly thought about this more. I was thinking as we were all thinking about the classic monster movie remakes, and I'm trying to think, and maybe you know this, maybe it doesn't exist.
I'm sure he does.
What about like a remake of The Creature from Black Lagoon? I always loved that film, and I don't think they ever made anything, try to jazz it up. Why not?
Yeah, I was just on Coast to Coast the other night, and someone called in and asked about that too, and that's one of those movies that has been in limbo. They've been, trust me, any property that Universal owns, monster-wise, they've been trying to do something with, but they haven't. I think the last time they went to the well to bring the creature from the Black Lagoon around was in 1987. They made a movie called The Monster Squad.
Oh man, what a great film! I like that.
Yeah,
movie.
you remember that? So the Gill Man was in that, like the version of him, and that movie bombed big time. So I just think that I think it's been stopping and starting and stopping and starting, but maybe the end result is you have to make this thing compelling, and maybe they're just afraid that a half man, half fish is not going to be something that kids are going to want to see. I don't know.
I don't know. I think
Lizard Man from South Carolina, man, that's real.
You could write that. You could write that story and make it good. I think. And in
like
my mind,
you could make it like Jaws. I mean,
sure.
I think it'd be a good adventure story.
And
make it really dark.
And then in the monster pantheon, as far as I'm concerned, it is Wolfman, Frankenstein, Dracula, Mummy.
Sure.
But then Creature from Black Lagoon is always at least number 5, but always there for me.
And Abbott and Costello.
No, they're not there at all, Scott. What's wrong with you, man?
Sorry,
I just remember that.
I'm just thinking
Abbott and Costello, meet Frankenstein
Dracula or something. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh gosh, now I just lost. Oh yeah, you were talking about you mentioned the Monster Squad. I did send that guy an email. The guy that played the lead kid. He actually responded to me, and he was going to come on the show.
Andre something?
Yeah. Somebody,
Gower?
Yeah, somebody from his organization contacted us back, but I don't think I've heard back since. But that would be a fun guest. That was a fun movie. I remember that movie fondly.
Yeah, I've showed it to my kids a bunch too. But it's funny. The ratings change so much, and that movie was rated PG, and yet there's a lot of things. I mean, it's quite first of all, it's quite violent, but.
The cigarette smoking.
Dracula hits. I don't know if you remember. Dracula sideswipes some, punches some little girl.
Oh yeah,
smacks her, and he calls her a bitch.
Yeah.
You bitch.
And then kick Wolfman in the nards. Wolfman's got no
nards. Wolfman got kicked in the. Yeah. That would appeal to an 11-year-old child. You know.
Hey man, it was fun. What do your kids think of it?
They actually, I showed it to my kids and I got 3 kids, okay, but one of them's too little to really
gotcha.
Quite register. Funnily enough, the 6-year-old gets way more freaked out than the 5-year-old. Like he's just, the 5-year-old's like, whatever, man, just throw it at me. I love it. And the 6-year-old just, no, man. It's just like I'm not into this at all.
These are real monsters, and they're real.
But he
scary.
talks the talk, right? Like, so we're in the car. I was on this other radio show today, and it was pre-recorded. So we turned on the car, and there it was. And it was about zombies, and we're talking about like Land of the Dead and Dawn of the Dead. And I was talking about when I saw these movies and the zombies and what they do. And he's listening. He's like, "Oh, Dad, I gotta watch these movies. I gotta see these movies." Like, who are you kidding? I'm your father. I know you. You don't have to pretend. I know you will never ever want to watch these movies. I'm gonna make you watch them at some point, but I mean, they like the aesthetics, right? So I mean, I have the toys, and they love like the they love the classics. I mean, I showed them Bride of Frankenstein. I thought that was amazing because they liked the. I think there's so much. Empathy and pathos in those movies. I mean, the Bride has the scene with the blind hermit and Boris Karloff, and they love that kind of stuff, right? Because they feel for the monster. They have great empathy for him. They know he's not necessarily the villain. He's just a misunderstood creature. They like that stuff. But the sheer, weird horror stuff where there's, good versus evil, and it's kind of clear-cut like that, I think the 6-year-old anyways is a little bit freaked out by that shit. A little bit nightmarish.
Yeah.
Well, so I'm going to bring up one more remake, and I'm going to stop naming remakes. I don't know what's wrong with me tonight, but it's just good to go down some of my favorite films, and with someone that probably likes them too. It's kind of you know what I'm saying. You like them too, but I mean,
I?
Someone we don't know that likes them too.
Some of them I do. Some of them I
don't. What did you think about when they remade Salem's Lot back in? I want to say that was probably in 2000. They made it for TV. They had Sutherland in it and.
Rutger Hauer.
Yeah. When did they do that? I want to say it was around 2005.
2004, 2005.
Yeah.
There, right?
Yeah. Somewhere like that. Yeah. What did you think about the remake?
Well, first back it up and let me say that I think the miniseries, the '79 of Toby Hooper, is again one of the top 5 great vampires. Great movies. Yeah. And again, Reggie Nalder is Mr. Barlow, one of the scariest vampires.
Oh yeah.
But I remember going in with great trepidation because I think Rob Lowe's a plank, and I have a reason for that. When I first set visits I ever did for Fangoria before I was editor, when I was I just was like a freelancer, was in Toronto for Stir of Echoes Part 2.
Okay.
And I went on set, and I was supposed to interview Rob Lowe, but he was being such a diva. He took forever and ever and ever. And I was really, if you've ever been on set before, it's boring.
Yeah.
So I was like, I got to get out of here. I'm going to die. It's so boring. And I'd see him a couple times. It's like, Mr. Lowe. He's like, not right now. Not right now. I'll come to you later. He kept putting me on hold. And eventually I went to the publicist. I said, you know what? I'm just going to go home. If I have enough, I interviewed some other guys, and maybe we can get a phoner or something with Rob later. It's cool.
Wow.
And I left. I get home, and it's the publicist going, what did you do to Rob? What did you do to him? I said, what do you mean, why did you do? I had nothing.
I left.
Apparently he came out, and he's like, okay, I'm ready now for the Fangoria guy. And they said, no, he left, man. He must have been so humiliated, because first of all, here he is starring in Stir of Echoes 2 in Toronto. He's just been so humiliated. He made up some cock and bull story that I was relentlessly pestering him, and then I went to his trailer and actually opened the door of his trailer.
Oh, my gosh.
And to get inside there, and then he was complaining about me and wanted me barred from set. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So I'm not a fan of the man to begin with. So when he was cast, they saw that he was cast in the Salem's Lot thing. I was like, I don't know about this. I don't like this. I don't care about this Rob Lowe guy so much. But that aside, as a fan of the book,
oh yeah,
I thought it was closer to the book, and I think the Barlow that Howard played was definitely closer to the Barlow in the book. And I loved Donald Sutherland. I'd watch him do the dishes. I thought he was really good at Straker. Yeah. I thought some of the James Cromwell's in it. It's got a good cast. The casting of what's his face, Andre Braugher as the teacher was a little bit bizarre, making him gay. I thought that was,
yeah.
I thought that was a too obvious. I liked the ambiguity of him in the original. Like, is he just a caring teacher? I didn't think why they had to drag that in there. I thought it was a little bit too politically correct.
Oh yeah.
But so there were moments in it. Doesn't hold a candle to the original, but it's still pretty good and it's still respectable Stephen King adaptation, I think.
Oh, definitely. Night Flyer, another Stephen King film. Have you seen it?
Yeah, with what's his face? My God,
I can't think of any of the actors.
RoboCop.
Peter
No,
Weller.
not Mel Ferrer. Mel Ferrer?
Peter Weller. Chuck's saying Peter Weller.
No, it's either Mel Ferrer, right? That's the guy in Night Flyer. The guy who played the dickhead in RoboCop.
Oh, not RoboCop, but the other guy.
Not Dick Jones's antagonist there. Anyways, I like the Night Flyer.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was thinking about earlier when you talked about, these vampires are not all, talked about Nosferatu, and they're not all glittery, diamond, sparkly, whatever that crap is.
He looks like a bat, right? He's all like ugly and...
Yeah, that's like the true vampire, it's not this glamorous thing.
Something
it's
monstrous.
This monstrous, hideous thing that just barely keeps itself alive.
Yeah, that's right. He's just like a little like a disgusting parasite that just does anything he can to get his next fix.
Yeah.
That's the way a vampire should be.
Sure.
Supernatural predator.
So, do you know? Did you ever do anything for Fangoria magazine? Did you ever talk to Ethan Dettenmeyer or any of those guys out there when they were trying to do the film with? I'm sorry, St. John Smith.
No, I didn't. That was before my time.
Oh, okay.
But I remembered that. I remember there's a friend of mine, Steve Genier, who has got another paranormal show. He was somehow involved in that or something was going on. I remember that when that was all spiking up and there was a lot of interest about it. And then I have not heard anything since. What's the state of that production?
I don't know. I guess they stopped doing it.
That's a good question.
I mean, I know Ethan's doing something called Combat Radio now in L.A., but I mean, last I talked to him when I was in Vegas, I guess they just stopped doing it. I think they ran out of money, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I remember all that. I remember when it was happening. I wasn't really involved with Fangoria at the time. I think it was with Rue Morgue, but I remember something bubbling, but I didn't... I lost track. I lost that thread.
So I bet you've interviewed a lot of really, really cool actors in the horror world. What was your favorite interview?
Oh my God! honestly, that's a tough one. I mean, a lot of my favorite interviews aren't horror guys like Gene Simmons or something like that. But we end up talking about horror, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Or Nick Cage was probably the craziest.
You a Kiss fan?
Oh, Kiss is my life, yeah.
Cool. I'm a Kiss fan, okay.
Yeah, my life is Kiss. And one of the first things I did when I took over Fangoria is that, because Kiss and, Gene Simmons was my first vampire, right?
Uh-huh.
So was to put Gene on the cover and do like a famous Monsters of Filmland kind of cover with him. We just talked about horror, but we're still tight. I mean, I ran the official Kiss magazine last year for 2 issues, and
oh, you did?
Yeah,
for the Kiss Army,
the Kiss Monster. Those were mine.
Really?
Yeah, those 2. One was in 3D, and one. So yeah, we did. We had the license with Gene and Paul to do that. So I did those.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man. Yeah, no, I'm like, I'm in my office right now, and it's half horror, half Kiss.
Oh my gosh. Well, we're running out of time here. I'm going to let you have the final word, and I definitely want you to come back on our show sometime in the near future.
Yeah, man, sure. I'd love to. Thank you for having me. Final word,
sure.
I don't know, just go to my website, I guess, and then I'll do a bunch of stuff, and if you like any of it, then that's cool. If you don't, then that's fine, too. Chris-Alexander.ca.
All right. Thanks so much, Chris. We appreciate you coming on tonight.
Thanks.
Thanks a lot, guys. Have a good night.
You too. Have a good night.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And that was Chris Alexander. That was a pretty good show, man. I enjoyed that. Trent, I'm sorry. I cut you off a couple times.
You did, man.
Trent's mad at me now.
I'm not mad.
Okay.
I'm not mad. I'm not mad, Scott.
You were late.
You better just put that horse back in the barn, Scott. Because you don't want that horse coming out. Because it's a thunderstorm on the high plains, my friend. And
we definitely don't want that.
You don't want that.
Well, guys, we've
wearing a hat.
We've kind of gone an hour with no break, so we're gonna do a break here in just a second. And please call us. Where are you guys at tonight? Y'all were tearing it up last week. 877-722-7382. You're listening to World of the Unexplained. Do I sound okay? I think my headphones are freaking out.
Do I sound okay? I sound like I'm very far away from the microphone.
Step up on there.
Because I was very far from the microphone.
So Chuck, it's good to have you back, man.
Thank you.
So
Chuck, I'd like to talk to you about your connection with Michael J. Fox during the Teen Wolf years. It's time for this conspiracy to finally be put to bed. You were not Michael J. Fox's body double during that
in Teen Wolf.
Never met. Okay. Well, I just want to make sure. What about 13th Warrior? Were you on that film as well, Chuck Browder?
What is it? The new 300?
No, 13th Warrior.
13th Warrior, man. It's about Beowulf.
Yeah.
And Vikings. Came out a long time ago.
Not that guy either. No. What about the body double for what was it? Jason Bateman in Teen Wolf 2? What about?
Yes, actually.
That was Chuck.
That's where it all came from.
Very close. Yeah, we're gonna have him on the show. Put this thing to rest.
I'm co-starring in his next film.
Awesome! I just drew a basketball on my sheet of paper. It's awesome.
I
was just thinking about the basketball scene.
Do you guys watch Supernatural, the series?
No, I won't watch it.
I watch it. Yeah. Okay, D does, and I do. Chuck. No, okay.
I watch the Olympics.
Wait, do you know? My wife was trying to figure out. She's like, I know I've seen this guy from some show before. The guy that plays Dean, and we finally Googled it and figured out he used to be on one of the soap operas back in the day, like Bold and Restless or something like that. It's really kind of funny.
Young and the Restless.
Yeah, whatever. I don't.
Why do I know that?
Bold and the Restless better.
Bold and the Restless.
Bold and the Beautiful and Young and the Restless.
Whatever. So anyway, but I thought it was funny.
Quite an expert on soap operas.
Because now every time I see like one of these like pulling sympathetic parts of the show, or they're like trying to have a personal a deep moving personal conversations with one another as their brothers. It's like I just see the cheesiness pour out from the whole soap opera days.
Yeah,
and
do they have close-ups of their faces?
They do, and it's just like, oh Lord, this is I can see you're made for this.
And maybe some very poor lighting and bad makeup, and then somebody in the background is playing like a little cheesy organ music.
We got to get those guys on. That would be good. That'd be fun guests. I need to get Adrian Paul on too and ask him all my Highlander questions.
Yeah, in case you guys didn't know, Scott is probably one of the biggest Highlander fans.
The TV series, yeah, well, the movies are good too, but the TV movies, series,
I think that the even numbered movies were horrible, and the
two
odd
sucked.
number, the odd
4 sucked.
Yeah, but 1 and
5 sucked too.
1 and 3 were okay.
First one was a good movie.
The first one is a great film. And they should have left it alone.
But I'm trying to remember, why was the third one okay? What happened in the third?
Yeah, that was it. Mario Van Peebles was in the third one. He was really a crazy kind of evil.
Yeah, a Kurganish kind of figure. You gotta have a Kurganish kind of figure in those movies to make it work. Not some, I don't know.
Days of Our Lives.
Technocrat. Oh, Days of Our Lives.
Oh, okay.
That's
that's another one. Well, you know the guy that played the Kurgan, what's his name? Tom. Something. I'm bad with names. The guy that played the Kurgan, though, he was here in Winston-Salem a few years ago on a set that they were doing something around here, and Brett, Eric's old roommate, actually met him.
Yeah,
That's he really? Cool.
Is he really that big?
Yeah, he says the guy's huge.
Oh, like my size.
Probably, I don't know.
I could take
Clancy Brown. That's
Clancy
it.
Brown, because I was going to say Tom Clancy.
That's
but
what I was going to say too.
Brown.
And I'm like, oh wait, that's the writer. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's interesting. You know, my connection with all this is one time my stepdaughter was watching that adorable little film Flubber with
Eddie Murphy?
Robin Williams, and he was playing the nutty professor in it. And the two bad guys who were trying to get the recipe, I immediately recognized them. One was Kurgan, and the other one was Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lambs.
Oh wow!
And it was like the act, not Hannibal Lecter, Buffalo Bill. And so I found myself thinking, this is an adorable television children's movie with like some of the most disturbing, wicked villains of recent memory, and then here they are being all campy and goofy. It's like, I know who you people are. You guys are monsters. Don't you? I didn't tell anybody that. I didn't.
What is that?
He also plays Mr. Crab on SpongeBob the SquarePants.
Oh, he also plays Mr. Crab on SpongeBob.
Clancy Brown does.
Wow.
Clancy Brown plays Mr. Crab.
Kurgan is Mr. Crab on SpongeBob.
Oh my gosh! What's
wonders
going on?
never cease.
Oh no!
Sleepy Hollow.
He's on Sleepy Hollow as what?
He was the sheriff.
Oh, he was the sheriff. Oh yeah, that's right.
The movie Sleepy Hollow?
No, the TV series. I didn't even think about that. I didn't even put two and two together. It's a good show, man.
He was also the
season just ended.
He was the chief guard in Shawshank Redemption.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
See, there we go.
He's got a lot of fairly good movie gigs after Kurgan, which is cool.
The Kurgan was one of his better
it's
moments.
better to burn out than to fade away.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, he's sitting there in the church and lighting a candle, and he's just in there and putting them out, and it's just like, you clearly are some kind of Slavic barbarian from the 2000 BC or something. It's great. So I love a good villain.
So Chuck, how we liking this Obama second term thing, man? You feeling it?
I'm feeling it about as much as I felt the first term.
The hope and change, is it upon you?
It's in full effect.
How about your health insurance, Chuck? Has that been? Do they provide you with health insurance where you work at?
They do. They do.
Are they going to take it back now, or?
No, they're not taking it back.
Are they cutting you all to part time?
No, but I told you there's the mandatory yearly physical, which I appreciate.
Okay,
it's free.
And how many pull-ups can you do there, Chuck?
No, it's
for the physical. Did they make you do pull-ups on a physical?
They don't make you do. Dude, have you ever had a physical?
Not really, but if I were,
they don't even ask me at this point to lift and cough anymore.
Wow,
yeah,
that's terrible.
No, it's so bare bones.
Yeah, well,
I got kids now.
I don't care. If I were running physicals, I would say you got to do some pull-ups. You got to wrestle this guy over here. There is a wild boar. You need to take him down somehow. And if you survive all that, then you're pretty good shape.
If I don't do the physical, they don't drop me from my health care. They just double the cost of it.
Oh, ouch.
Weird.
Yeah, very
so, in other words, it's just a way of you just keeping the prices down.
Essentially,
right.
But it's not like it's a family plan too. It's not like my kids have to go in and get physicals or my wife has to go in and get
just
a physical.
You.
Just me.
Oh well.
There's wellness for you.
Government health care.
Well, how do they know if your wife is capable of taking down a boar? She has to protect your children in case you're not there, and you never know, there might be a wild boar that shows up.
All right, 877-722-7382. That's 1-877-722-7382. I think that's the right number. It's 877-SCARE-YOU-TOO. I don't know.
There's some 7s and 8s in it.
Go to our website. Call us.
I was going to...
Why don't you give the website?
Oh, worldoftheunexplained.com. There we go. Call us.
I was trying to think of, we're on the topic of movies and...
Ghostbusters.
Yeah, okay. Are they still thinking about making a remake of that?
That's what I meant to look up on my phone.
I hope not. You know what I'm saying? It's like...
I thought they'd already started filming it.
I just...
Well, they kept going back and forth with Bill Murray. I don't want to do it. Or I want to do it, but I want to be a ghost. Yeah, I mean, I've heard all kinds of things.
That's a good idea.
I don't know which one's true and which ones aren't.
If Bill Murray were an actual ghost.
Bill Murray actually goes around... excuse me. Bill Murray actually goes around to people's parties and just shows up. He's very much known for doing this and just randomly shows up at some stranger's house for a party.
Awesome.
And then
we need to throw a party,
people,
Scott.
and people are like filming him and all, and he's like, they're never going to believe you that I was here. I mean, this is what I've heard about him.
Yeah.
Yeah. He just pops in. And
I love it. I love it. We need to throw a party.
And invite
and
Bill
not
Murray.
invite Bill
not
Murray.
invite. We're going to specifically tell him he's not invited to our
Email
party.
him. We're throwing a party.
Email him. We're going to tell him where we're at, where we're going to be, how long we're going to be there, and you're not invited.
And you are not invited, Bill
to the
Murray.
party. That's right.
We don't want to see you there. Let's try the reverse psychology.
Exactly. I think it'll work.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
We need to work on that. So, yeah, I'm trying to think of, like, as far as scary movies, going back.
Exorcist just definitely tops my top 10 probably.
My favorite scary movie, it's got to be Psycho, the original black and white.
Really?
With Hitchcock.
Huh, okay.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm always of the opinion that as Dostoevsky says, we create the image of our own devil. We make the devil in our own image. And so I think that's movies where the monster is just a dude that. You know what I mean? I just feel like that makes the best.
Do you remember
villain.
years ago when we were talking to Jason Off at one of the interviews we had with him, and I was telling you guys a story about my my most memorable and I thought really scary Twilight Zone episodes from the 80s, and how it was about, I just remember this kid in the playground getting strangled by this dark man type person.
All
right, well, I found that on the internet. Somebody put it up on YouTube, and now I can't remember the name of it again, but it was from that era, and basically there's this dark, like, shadow man that lives under your bed, and what he did is this kid's the kid was scared when he sees the guy come out at night, and he's got this silhouette of this, it's kind of like a shadow figure.
Wears like a hat or something.
Yeah, he wears a hat,
trench coat.
Yeah, it's kind of like a shadow figure. Yeah, and so he comes out, and then he's the boy's really scared, but he's like don't be afraid of me, don't be afraid, He won't hurt him because he's like, his shadow man, right? So he can't hurt him because he lives under his bed. So the kid starts using his shadow man to do all these evil things, like people that picked on him, he would send the shadow man out to get and stuff like that. And so, like this, then at the end of the episode, the kid's out in the playground, laughing because the shadow guy's gonna kill his friend or kill the bully or something like that. And then the shadow man starts picking him up by the throat, or something like that. And he's like, what are you doing? You said you never hurt me. And he's like, I'm not your shadow man, or something, something along those lines. It was really cool.
Oh, it was like somebody else's shadow.
Yeah. It was a neat little story. I just, for some reason, I've always remembered that Twilight Zone episode.
The Shadow Man, and I will never harm the person under whose bed I live.
Well?
But I am a shadow man from under someone else's bed.
That's cool. It reminds me of that other Twilight Zone episode of the button.
Oh, with the box?
Yeah, and so that was a good one too. You sit there and you
press this button, we'll get you this money, but somebody dies.
And then
They just made a film about that, didn't they?
Probably they made some kind of a movie about it. But the plot's still the same. You push the button and you get your $1 million, and then it goes to somebody else who
That's
can
right,
also push the
you
button.
don't know.
And you would, basically implying that you're now in the running for the
button
for the random death activity.
Wow.
I think can I just hold on to the box?
That's right. I'm not pressing it, and I'm not giving it back.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, no,
this ends here.
This thing is too powerful for anyone to have, and I'll build a giant temple around it with traps. And I'm sorry.
Another good
porter, yeah.
Another good movie, Bubba Hotep.
Oh,
I've never seen it.
You've never seen Bubba Hotep? Oh, it's great.
I am looking to my right.
Yeah,
and counting books.
You just gave that back to me not that long ago. Did you see it?
I guess.
You guess you saw it? So what? I let you borrow it and you didn't see it?
I saw it.
You didn't like it?
Okay, it was definitely one of the strangest films I've seen in a while. And
Come
so,
on, Mr. President.
and so for that alone, the quirkiness of it was good enough to watch. You know?
It was.
Was it a scary movie? No. Was it even funny? I'm not sure. Funny and haha, or funny and oh, that's curious.
I will tell you what I did enjoy. When I went to Vegas. I told you about this. I saw Evil Dead the musical. Oh man, it was great.
The musical.
And every time there would be one of those lines that everybody knows, like, this is my boomstick, everybody in the crowd would shout it.
This is my boomstick. Yeah.
It was great. I mean, it was really fun.
That was a classic. It really was.
Oh yeah.
Much better than the first one, really. And I don't know if they made another one or not after that, but
they made Evil Dead 2, didn't they?
Well,
did they?
Yeah, basically Evil Dead 2 was just almost a remake of Evil Dead.
Okay, well, either way. My favorites obviously are the comedic ones with Bruce Campbell stuff.
Oh yeah, he definitely
Army of Darkness. That's it. Yeah.
Army of Darkness.
Have you seen the new remake version?
I've not seen. I've seen
the
no
new remake of Evil Dead.
I've seen the new remake of Evil Dead, but it's just a horror film, like the original.
Yeah,
so
it's not.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was okay. I thought it was good. I guess. I did not like. I guess the newest horror film that I've seen that I liked somewhat a lot was Cabin in the Woods.
That is the one with Thor in it, right?
I don't know.
Isn't Thor in that movie?
I don't know.
Like the guy who played Thor.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know.
Actual Thor.
I don't know. Is not good with actors.
Chris Hemsworth.
I don't know.
Was it?
D's gonna let you know.
Was it? Because if it's the one that you're thinking of, that was a great movie.
It's where they set it up. It's like a stage basically that they're on, and the people are there.
Okay, yeah. Let's not go any farther because that ruins a lot of the fun. Go see Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah,
it's
if you haven't
definitely
seen
worth it.
Yeah, if you hadn't seen it, go see it.
Yeah, that was a really good one. Conjuring. Did you see Conjuring?
I haven't. Yes, I have actually. Yeah, that was
Lord
really
mercy.
good.
And that was totally up our alley too. Because
it was.
You and I both have quite a few connections with the the main characters of that particular.
Yes, Lorraine Warren.
Yep.
He's right. You were right about that. Thor was in the film.
So Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah,
That's
with
good.
Thor.
And Conjuring, like I said, that was a great movie.
That was a good movie. We'll have to talk to John Zaffis is coming on in March. We'll have to talk to him about about Conjuring.
That was just some of the scenes were just really disturbing. Like the
clapping. Oh, that was weird.
Pop, pop. And then she gets trapped in between the railings, and she falls down in the basement. And there's like a woman who had killed a baby in herself, and she was like all like in tears and black liquid, and
it was a good film, man.
Yeah,
it was very good.
The woman hanging, like you just see the swinging legs.
Yeah, that was good. It was good. Good film.
Wow, that was actually probably one of my favorites, and it wasn't too over the top gore, and it wasn't too stylized. It was just a good horror film. I think movies like that are rare indeed.
How about one of the worst?
Yeah, you know what?
We
were gonna. I wish he had stayed on long enough because that was going to be my next question for Chris Alexander. What was one of the worst horror films he'd ever seen?
Plan 9.
Well,
he's done worse than that. That's actually one of the good ones.
Like Plan 9 is so bad it's good. I mean, that's what it comes down to. Plan 9 is entertaining. Something that was so bad horror movie wise that was just, like I cannot believe I wasted my time watching this thing.
Friday the 13th, the series, D.
That was by far the worst.
It's kind of like Nightmare on Elm Street, the series.
I don't remember either one of those. I clearly must.
In Nightmare on Elm Street, the series, they had like very, very short sketches of Robert Englund dressed up, like Freddy, and he would just kind of introduce the piece. And then
the piece had nothing to do with him.
No, but they, it was like Nightmare on Elm Street, the series, or something like that. You can probably find it. Tell me what it's called.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's called that. But
Freddy's
Nightmares. That was a terrible series. Yeah, not worth watching.
Wow,
3 seasons. Wow,
that's
amazing.
Made it longer than Amazing Stories, which I was just looking at.
Amazing Stories was fun. That was good stuff.
Good directors, good writers.
They still show that on Chiller on I think Monday nights or maybe Sunday nights, really late. They still show Amazing Stories.
And the airplane that flies through the
excellent production value.
It was
like kind of a modern day Twilight Zone kind of. Yeah.
Well, much more brighter Twilight Zone.
Sure.
More like maybe Dusk Zone or early Sunrise Zone, not necessarily Twilight Zone.
I'm just saying.
Because most of those Amazing Stories, I mean, they were kind of creepy and scary, but they usually ended fairly well, or
I don't know. I remember
acceptable.
The first
ending.
one I think I had seen
House
was one
2.
in a well, and they kept trading like
We got to get you a
some
mic,
stuff
Chuck.
for gold, and in the end, she like kicks her husband down
Yeah.
the well, and she sends the guy back up. Or he goes down there to fight whatever is in the well. And he comes back up, and it's not really him; it's his like suit with his armor and his gas mask, and the shotgun all filled with gold coins.
Wow.
He was eating.
That's cool,
That
but
didn't work out well. It worked out well for her.
Well, yeah, fairly positive.
Is there's a movie, a really bad horror film. I want to say it's called "I Dance on Your Grave." It was horrible. I saw it on cable. I mean, House 2, horrible film.
Oh, that was campy and fun.
Oh, it was campy, but
Wasn't that the one where like his army buddy from Vietnam comes back?
Yeah,
and he's,
yeah.
like all zombified. Like,
It was terrible. A film I've never seen. Don't know if I really want to. The Ghoulies, the little toilet bowl guy.
I've seen a number
You've seen
of
it?
those.
Yeah.
Those
They're bad. Yeah, I figured that.
Critters, right?
Those are bad,
So I was thinking Critters was pretty lame.
Obviously.
How about Once Bitten? You ever seen that?
Unfortunately, yes, I've seen Once Bitten. It's terrible. It's kind of like what is it? The Eddie Murphy one, Vampire in Brooklyn, or something.
Vampire in
horrible.
Harlem.
Just
You
Vampire.
trying to say Blackula's bad? Come on.
Blackula's got that whole historical connotation with it, though. It's good.
It's in the theme of like Black Belt Jones
exploitation
and
films.
Shaft and stuff like
Shaft
that.
is what I was thinking.
And in that sense, I guess it's all right.
I was
but-
driving my car yesterday listening to Isaac Hayes sing the Shaft theme song. It was on Sirius 70s on 7.
I wonder if Richard Roundtree
Who
was
is
ever.
the man?
Okay, you can stop. I wonder if Richard Roundtree was ever in a horror film.
I have no idea.
Richard Roundtree is Shaft, by the way.
Yes.
So
You can dig
it. Yeah, wouldn't it be funny? Yeah. If it was like it was involving like a graveyard and a gravedigger, and so he's
You can dig it.
yeah, Richard Roundtree and this Tim. How are we gonna get down there to find this cursed
can
body?
dig it.
Well, you could dig it, and then you know what I mean. And then it's like
Shaft.
maybe just threw my friend out the GD window.
Oh gosh, that was
messed
I
up-
remember we watched that movie over
So many
and over
times.
again. We love that movie, Shaft. Oh my gosh.
Not the new one with Samuel
the old
Jackson.
one,
He
yeah,
was
the old
trying to
one
be
with Richard
cool.
Roundtree.
No, the old Shaft, and then there was Shaft in Africa or something.
And then there's Diamond Shaft. or
Diamond Shaft.
something?
Theoretically, there was a third Shaft film. I don't know, but we were big fans of both of the other two. That was a very pivotal part of our movie going experience.
It was. You know, other
Shaft-
bad horror movies, like I said, Exorcist 2 was just incredibly terrible.
Oh, you know what? I remember there's a movie that someone we won't mention, and you and myself went to see over in High Point when the Oak Hollow Mall still existed, and there was a movie theater there, and I think it had Winona Ryder in it, maybe. And halfway through this film, I was looking at you and said, "Scott, we gotta get out of here, man. This movie blows."
Oh, that was such a terrible film,
What
and I
was
just
it- what
kept
was it
waiting
called?
there. I can't remember.
And it was like, "No, man, it'll get better. It'll get better." It's like, dude, this is not gonna get.
It wouldn't get any better, man. The only cool thing was the preview. I hate movies like that.
Yeah, and then it was so bad that I remember calling a mutual friend of ours at like 3 a.m. Later on that night. Don't go see this movie.
Oh, it was terrible.
It's a very bad movie.
It was terrible.
You could tell by the accent in my voice.
It was bad. I can't think of the name. I think I blocked it.
Well, I didn't. And I'm not afraid to watch a film, and if it really starts to blow, like after about 20 minutes, like nah, I'm leaving.
Yeah, I'm out.
I'm just not going to waste my time. I could do other things than sit here.
That was my wife and Meet Joe Black. After 30 minutes of it, she's like, "Okay, this is terrible," and her and her friend left.
Yeah. Meet Joe Black, he's deaf.
Yeah, it's Brad Pitt.
Was that movie really?
I didn't think it was that great.
Okay.
It had some good actors in it, but
Well,
it just-
Anthony
it wasn't-
Hopkins.
Like
Yeah, exactly.
Jonathan Winters and Mork and Mindy. He ages backwards. Is that right?
No, you're thinking of
No,
Benjamin Button.
sorry.
I've seen Benjamin Button. It's okay. It's okay.
Also interesting, but
Yeah.
better than Meet Joe Black.
Yeah, better than me.
Neither of these are horror films. We need to stick on
Yeah,
subject.
let's get
Scott.
back to horror films.
Um,
I'll tell you a good one was my wife will not watch with me because she has this aversion to ventriloquist dummies. So I have an old ventriloquist dummy I had when I was a kid, the real deal, and it's in a box in the closet. And I constantly tell her that one night late at night, 'cause she goes to bed a lot earlier than I do, I was gonna stick him up in the kitchen in the chair or something, at the table. So when she comes down in the morning, she sees it sitting at the table or on the couch, or, just, maybe in, the passenger seat of her car, something just really disturbing like that. But she tells me she will burn him. So I haven't done that.
Well, get another one, not that one. That's old for you.
Yeah.
Get a replica and put it there. You know what I'm saying?
No,
one that looks similar to the one that you actually have.
There's a movie called Dead Silence, though, and that's what it's about. The whole movie is about like
a ventriloquist dummy.
Thousands of ventriloquist dummies that are alive, and it's just it's a good film. I'd recommend it if you get a little creeped out by that.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I think that's pretty much a societal stereotype of horrible things. Like, we should all be afraid of clowns, and we should be afraid of little dolls, and we should all be afraid of. What's another one that everybody always claims that fear of? Mainly clowns and toy dolls.
Yeah.
Somehow. And I just don't get it. I mean, I find clowns not amusing, but I'm not necessarily scared of them. The only reason why any of us are scared of them to begin with is because of the Joker character from Batman.
I thought it was because of Stephen King.
Pennywise Joker and John Wayne Gacy.
Yeah.
Because he dressed up like a clown,
Yeah.
And so those three things, I guess, could make people creeped out about clowns. And like toy dolls, I don't know what the deal is with them. They're just dolls. They just inanimate objects that resemble very unusual looking small
John
humans.
Zaffis about that, possessed Raggedy Ann doll. That's pretty. That's pretty.
Yeah,
amazing.
that's true. That's the exception of the rule. But
well, look, guys, 877-722-7382. We're gonna take a short break here. And give us a call. I'll wait till the break's over and give us a call, but because we're gonna be out of the room. But anyway, I'll leave you with some Sublime.
Really?
So much.
He does.
Oh my gosh.
No woman, no cry. Okay, I'm terrible.
I know, seriously. 300 years of black oppression. Basically what that song reminds me of.
Okay.
No, seriously though. Bob Marley, he took all that awful crap, that goes on in the cane fields and made something beautiful out of it. And
yeah, you're right.
I always think, I'm very hopeful.
And Jamaica's a beautiful place if you visit and stay in the compound. It's outside. It can be very scary.
Well, like I said, I mean, it's a very brutal, oppressive world in the Caribbean, and yet nobody ever thinks about it when they get their sugar from the grocery store, and the working conditions those people have to go through, and it's just I don't know. I'm sorry, just to bring.
Yeah, you just brought it all down, didn't we? Yeah. That's great. Let's get some.
But Bob Marley brought it up, is what I'm saying. He took that down stuff and flipped it and said, "Hey, man."
I have a Bob Marley cigarette lighter that has changes colors. Got it in Jamaica.
All right,
877-722-7382. Give us a call here, and we'll tell you more about the Bob Marley cigarette lighter if you'd like. And we need to. We need to get some stuff in the Crack House.
We do.
And that way we can start playing the Crack House game show again.
We do.
We'll have to look into that.
I'm still thinking of really crappy movies that we've seen.
Oh, worldlyunexplained@gmail.com as well. You can email us.
There was this movie one time. D, you might remember this movie.
I saw Warlock with D. and Warlock 2 with the Druids.
Yeah, that's your only experience
Druids.
That's
Warlock 2.
Your only experience with Druids.
That's right.
That's awesome.
Everything I learned about Druids, I learned from watching Warlock 2 with D.
No, but this movie I was thinking about, D, is called Blood Lake, and I think it was so cheap that
I don't know it.
Basically they're drinking beer, but instead of even having a generic beer label that looked like beer, it was like a white label that just said beer or something. I love movies with just extremely terrible production values. They make me feel so happy. Yeah, this is awful production values. And another awful movie. It doesn't have anything to do with horror particularly. But it's this movie called Elizabethtown, and it had Orlando Bloom and Spider-Man's girlfriend, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man's girlfriend, not the new Spider-Man, whatever his name is. And it was I don't know. It was an awful movie. It was like 3 hours long, and apparently it was about a dude that designed shoes, and he lost his job, and he went and saw his family in West Virginia, and there was a bird that was burning on fire, and it was
here's a good
horrible.
One.
I'm sorry.
Here's a good one. The Fly 2 from 1989.
I like The Fly.
Did
2.
you? Did you really?
Yes.
I remember The Fly too. What's wrong?
Who starred in it?
I have no idea.
Goldblum, didn't he?
No,
it wasn't Jeff Goldblum.
Not in the second one. It was his son. It was the character.
Oh, okay.
And there was no machine or anything. He just inherited the DNA.
Oh, okay. To turn into a fly-like creature.
Scary, man.
Paranormal Activity. Pick one.
Any of them?
Any of them.
You think they're all terrible?
The first one was okay.
Yeah.
The first one was okay.
Yeah, but unlike it's just like it's like Blair Witch Project.
One was
we all got Scott and I both got fooled on that one.
We did
for a while. We're like, oh, this is a real deal with these.
Well, you know why we thought
documentaries?
Because they did a mockumentary on it and put it on Sci-Fi Channel. I thought it was real.
Yeah, I like to call it fakeumentary, but mockumentary is.
What about Jeepers Creepers 2?
I think I see a theme here. Of, well, movies that have sequels.
Yeah,
basically are terrible. But I think we should all know that.
Is that what you just
I did, yeah. I'm looking up 30 worst horror films ever made. I'm on this website from Canada.
How about Nightmare on Elm Street 2? Now that's a very interesting film.
Okay, let's hear about it.
Apparently, it is the gayest horror film of all time.
Like, because there's so many gay people in it, or
because
it's
the protagonist is a man and he's constantly screaming. And there's also, do you remember the scene?
I'm trying to remember it.
With the coach, the evil.
Oh, in the shower.
The skeletons, and they're whipping his butt.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Apparently, that's considered one of the most homoerotic scenes in any horror film of all time.
How about that?
And Robert Englund, in an interview, I think in the late '80s, early 2000s, admitted that the producers, the writers, everyone on the scene knew that it was going on. It just was kind of on the down low and under the radar.
That we want to try to keep secret. Subtle alternative lifestyle messages throughout the film. Interesting. I never thought about that scene about the coats until you brought it up.
I totally forgot about this one.
What's that?
Night of the Lepus.
Oh my gosh, Night of the Lepus. Wow, that's
I don't think I've seen that.
I think it has like a real guy in it, like Gregory Peck or somebody in there like that. Some real legitimate actor.
Cabin Fever.
Hold on, no. You guys have to understand what Night of the Lepus is. It's like in Southern California. It's an agricultural town, and if the farm produce is being eaten or something, and it turns out to be, I'm not making this up, it turns out to be giant rabbits.
Oh wow!
And and they have, when you built your train model stuff back in the day, and then there's little cheap trees and all the little decorations and stuff. Yes, they literally use those train decorations, and then they put the rabbits like hopping through the stuff. It was amazingly awful. I cannot believe. And like I said, I think it had Gregory Peck in it or somebody, a real actual actor. It's like, what are you doing in this? And it was just. I don't know. It was just Night of the Lepus, Leputs. You guys need to watch it at probably about 2:30 in the morning when you're deep in your cups, and you will really appreciate it. Yes, I use deep in my cups. I realize that's straight up 12th century, but whatever, man.
It's okay, man. You're a 12th century kind of guy.
I am kind of a 12th century kind of guy. I am. Thanks, D, for bringing that one up. Night of the Lepus.
Oh my gosh.
Did you ever see that one, D?
I sure did.
Yes,
of course you did.
Oh my gosh, that brought back such fond memories.
Now, is Inception, is that a horror film?
Inception?
I haven't seen it. Have you guys?
Who's in it?
With DiCaprio?
Oh no, that's not a horror film.
No, not DiCaprio.
Who's in it?
It's about dreams and stuff, right?
I think so.
Yeah, that's with DiCaprio.
No, it's not a horror film. It's a very weird movie about dreams where weird dream-like things happen.
Oh, wait. No, I've got a good one for you guys. The Howling 3, The Marsupials, 1987. Yeah? No?
Never saw it. Is it? Are we talking about were koalas and were kangaroos?
I don't know. I don't know.
Are they bringing up the mythical yowie? Because that would be kind of cool. The yowie is a fun mythical beast, but they probably didn't do it justice, I would think. Marsupials.
The marsupials.
Were-opossums?
I don't know. I haven't seen the film. I've got it, though. I just haven't seen it.
Were-platypuses?
I actually have the movie. It's still in the plastic, I think.
Duck-billed platypus aren't really marsupials. They're Echidnae or some other kind of family of species of creature, egg-laying mammal. Very few of them are in existence.
Oh, I see your Night of the Lupus here in 1972.
Yeah. Does it have a Gregory Peck in it?
It doesn't say. It just says in a town terrorized by enormous, fluffy, cuddly, cute rabbits. Seriously, the scene in Monty Python and the Holy Grail was scarier and more believable. That's what it says. Monty Python.
Like I said, Blood Lake. That was a crappy film, and there was one that was I think it was just called Ghost Story. And if I remember correctly,
you know what?
It was a bunch of people sitting outside of an old haunted house, and there was this old Southern gentleman with his Planet suit telling a story about something, and then you hear the wind, and it literally sounded like.
Oh, I thought you meant Ghost Story, the one that was Peter Straub novel that they turned into a movie in the 80s.
I don't think so.
The movie was the book was just amazing, and the movie just couldn't hold a candle to it. But the book was just downright awesome.
I don't think it was that.
Was that the one with Alison Krieger in it? Is that?
Yeah, I think it was.
I don't think it was that Ghost Story.
Yeah,
that's
not the yeah, but that's one. The movie was, but the book was just so great.
Yeah,
I hate that. I wish they could remake the movie because and make it like the book, because it would be, and they could do it today with the technology they have today. They couldn't have done it then.
And here's another thing I was thinking about, and it seems to be a trend. And what with Netflix and Redbox and all these other sites that are basically destroying the motion picture going out and seeing movie industry, the rampant rise of 3D films, and I'm curious if it's a good move for them to do that or not, or if it's a move out of desperation. Because
I like 3D. I've got 3D on my TV. It's awesome.
Yeah, but I don't. I think
I saw the new Star Trek movie that way. It was awesome.
It was pretty. I saw it in the theater.
Yeah, I saw it at home in 3D. And it was good.
Well, okay, but there's like Up. That movie Up was also in 3D.
Yeah.
Why? Why would you put it in 3D? It was not. It wasn't very. I used it as 3D. It was very disappointing. 3D.
I don't know. It was good. It was good in 2D.
Yeah. Keep it. I think cartoons may work out better than that.
Oh no, actually, the redo. Oh, that's true. That is a terrible movie.
Yeah, what's that?
Leprechaun, Back to the Hood.
Oh my gosh! Well, how could we have forgotten the Leprechaun series?
Oh gosh!
And then the one where he goes into outer space.
Oh yeah, Leprechaun in space. Yeah.
It's almost as bad as Halloween 2, the one that doesn't have Michael Myers in it, but it has those dancing.
No, Michael Myers is in Halloween 2.
Is he?
If you're a true connoisseur and really look for these things,
okay,
you will find him on the television screen in the break room.
But he's not actually in the film.
No, he's not. Well, it's just like it's him on the TV.
Right, it's the dancing pumpkin things.
It's kind of like the trick question I ask you if I'm in the Scream movie.
Yeah. Are you in this? Are you in the Scream movie?
No, if I were in the Scream movie, he's like, oh, no, it was, it wasn't Jason Voorhees, it was his mother. Now you're gonna die.
Oh. Well, that was a good movie. The very first Friday the 13th was the only one I really enjoyed out of the whole series because it didn't have Jason Voorhees at all in it. He was the monster, but he wasn't really the thing that did it. The movie was actually very solid and good, and I appreciate it.
It was a good movie, good film.
Now, granted, the other 12, 14, 16, or 18 other Friday the 13th didn't hold a candle. Though I do like the one time.
You didn't like Jason Takes Manhattan?
The sixth one is awesome.
I haven't seen the sixth one.
What goes on in the sixth one?
I mean, it's typical. They're camping, or they're camp counselors. He comes to get them, but I don't know. It was ultra graphic and gory.
Uh-huh.
It was entertaining for the time. The production value, as far as most of them.
Oh, okay.
Across the board, I thought was pretty decent.
Fair enough.
I'm a big fan of the Halloween movies.
Well, I think
except for 2, 2 sucked.
I think that works out fairly well. It goes back to the whole it's a person, doing all the stuff. It's not some kind of phantasmagoric thing.
Well, I'm a big fan of the Scream franchise too. I thought that was good. I even like the new one, Scream 4.
I only saw the first one.
Really?
Yeah, I was about to see the second one, and then I started getting really angry at the people I was with. And there was some guys in a fraternity, and they were stealing my girl at the time, and I just left before the movie started. And then I wandered back to campus through the woods for about 2 or 3 hours. So my adventure that night was a lot more entertaining than actually watching that Scream movie. And then they wondered what happened to me. You know, it's like, where'd he go? And then they all started
freaking out. You got taken out by the
exactly. And
by the ghost-faced killer.
Exactly, ghost-faced killer. And I went home and then I apologized to everybody for just leaving abruptly like that. But it was a strange situation. I never saw another Scream movie again after that.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It is a bit weird.
You should check it out, man. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of those franchises. Michael Myers is definitely one of my favorites. You know, just silent and ruthless, and yet at the same time not hokey. Like Jason Voorhees somehow comes off as being hokey.
Well, I was a really
Michael
big fan
Myers feels more menacing.
Never a fan of the Jason movies. Big fan of the Freddy Krueger stuff.
Well, Freddy Krueger is charismatic.
Yeah.
In his murdering rampage.
What about The Shining?
Shining.
Well, yeah,
good movie.
You know, that's Stephen King. That's a different caliber of film in general. A lot of the.
This one listed here as in the top 25.
Alien.
I don't see that as a horror film.
I don't see it as a horror film.
Sci-fi.
Yeah, that's clear in the realm of sci-fi.
It's horror too, though.
The way
it's horror.
It's like Terminator. I think a couple
it
of
could
the
go.
others do.
It could go there.
Now, at the same time, you could think about this. John Carpenter's The Thing, back in the '80s, in the last, the Arctic base.
Did you see the remake of that?
I know the sci-fi, but that was a really good film. But I mean, is it sci-fi or horror? It's horror because you don't know who's infected by the creature, Yeah. And they die horrifically, and then, but it's just like a virus, parasitic thing, It never turns into like a alien style monster. That was a really good film.
I will say Jeepers Creepers 2 didn't do the justice to the first. I didn't think so.
I didn't have a lot of fleshing out there, no pun intended, with Jeepers Creepers, the first one. I didn't understand why the song had to be played, except they stole eyes and like what was the thing, and it's just
you don't know.
Yeah, just for me, I like my villains to have some kind of a story, behind them, an origin myth or something like that. The only time that does not work for me is Dark Knight, where the Joker just shows up. And you don't know where he comes from, and you don't know why he's
But that's okay.
It's okay that way. That's the only time when I prefer not to have an origin myth. That he's just, here he is. Blamo.
You already know the origin myth.
Well, you don't. You do and you don't, because, he keeps on telling you different versions of himself. I don't like the whole Batman version where I fell in a vat of acid. Now I'm horribly disfigured. I never liked that. I like the way that the Joker talks about his creation in Dark Knight. And the fact that it's every time he tells somebody is a different story.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because that's the kind of thing a sociopathic kind of person might do. Okay. Well, Scott, what are you doing over there?
I'm just looking on the internet for bad horror movies.
Well, what about bad horror movies you've seen?
Anybody
can see bad horror movies on the internet.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying
I'm
to.
just saying, like bad horror movies you actually saw.
Well, no, I'm trying to. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to.
Hey, was that movie that we talked about earlier, Lost Souls? Was that it, or Dead Souls? The one where I wanted to walk out of?
Lost Souls, man. Was that it?
It sounds it. With Winona Ryder. Lost Souls, Dead Souls, something like that.
What do you look for?
One is a book by a Russian author.
Lost Souls movie. Yeah, Winona Ryder. This is the one. It was made in 2000. Yeah. It's got 7% on Rotten Tomatoes, 4.8 out of 10 on Internet Movie Database, and 16% on Metacritic. Yeah, it was bad.
It was bad.
It was terrible. It was bad, dude. It was just horrible.
It was, it was kind of slow and plotting, and you never really got anywhere. It was just like, this is not scary.
It wasn't good.
This is boring. You know,
it wasn't good.
Really,
just really bad.
But I don't know. I don't get to watch too many horror movies anymore, and it's like the ones that I see are just sort of like, whatever.
And there's another terrible one I saw not that long ago. Was it called? What was it called? The Possession or something like that. It was just recently came out, like last year, or year before, a couple years ago maybe. This girl's mother's like been possessed.
It's called The Possession.
It might be. I don't remember what it was called. It was in Redbox a couple years ago.
Uh-huh.
It was really bad. Yeah, just really bad. I wanted to stop the film in the middle of it and return it. Yeah,
then you should have, man. Don't be afraid to cut that film
man.
off.
I just have to make myself sit through it. Work through the pain, feel the burn.
I don't have the patience for it anymore. But we are forgetting, however, there is a vast slew of international horror films that are probably quite good. That we don't know anything about. You know what I'm saying? Like, for example, there was one that was from Venezuela, and you and Scott. I mean, you and me. Who's Scott? Scott and the other Scott. And
Chuck.
I don't know if Chuck was there or not. Dee might have been there, but it was about like this woman's cadaver, and it was a medical facility, and the cadavers they used for experiments, to whatever, and the cadaver itself was causing awful things to happen to people because she died. She had been raped and murdered, and they didn't. Traditionally, you don't bring those kind of cadavers into a medical school or whatever. And there's just a scene. It's kind of gruesome where she's floating in the.
Sorry.
Wow, that's a good special effect though. Because it was liquidy, and there was all these other cadavers just kind of floating along in this big vat. And they had to try to fish her out, and it was like that was really creepy because there's just all these other dead people in there. And like I said, that one was made like in South America or something. If you guys know it or know about it, feel free to let us know at the phone number, which is
1-800 scare you too.
1-800
No, it's not. It's 877.
Well,
877. Yeah.
Yeah. 877.
Not 1-800. No.
That's a
you
different
don't want to
number.
call that number.
That'd be somebody else. It might be somebody really scary. We don't know.
Yeah, seriously. If you guys remember that, or another foreign horror film, obviously Nosferatu. We saw that one. There was another one that I wanted to watch. It was from Russia called Nochnoy Dozor, or it was called Night Watch or Night Guard or whatever. And it was very creepy with all these.
We got to go, dude.
Oh,
but who do we have next week? Anybody know?
I don't know.
I'm trying to see on my phone. I can't.
I didn't look at my phone the whole time. I'll try to post a link about that night watch on the Twitter account.
Do you know who we have on next week? Not the only one.
We ought to compile a list though on the website of horror movies.
Yeah,
and our own personal ratings of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
something to do.
Oh,
our thanks again to Chris Alexander tonight. Sorry I was late, but
that's okay, man.
Heck of a good interview.
It was, man. We're gonna have to have him back. Who's on next week, D?
Yeah.
No one? Oh, I haven't filled that slot yet. That's right. Okay, John Zappis is after that. But anyway, guys, this is Jay Scott.
And this is Jay Trent. This is God. We are in fact one and the same entity.
Ooh, it's like Tyler. What's his name?
Tyler Durden.
Yeah.
I must be my Tyler Durden to Jack over there.
That's right.
We're coming to you from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, a town with two names. That's all I got right now. I'm sorry, I'm still working on a catchphrase.
See you guys in a couple weeks.
All right, bye.
Later.